right, what's up, everybody? This is Jason from the Tone Lab Recording Studio, and today I got a couple of my boys here. We're gonna talk some music and hang out. I got Cy Johnson and Vic Aquila. What's up, fellas? How you doing?
What's up, man?
Good. Yourself?
I'm doing great, man. And of course, I'm accompanied with my co-host Tony Engel. How you doing, Tony?
How you doing, guys?
I'm doing
Good
all
to be
right,
here.
man. Freaking, well, thank you guys for coming on, man. You guys are my first guests. You busting that cherry for me, so I appreciate that. So let's just start with some introductions. Cy, how about you, man? How you doing, man? Tell everybody who you are.
So my name's Cy. I'm just some big mouth from around
That's
these
right.
parts up in Colorado. Formerly of Con-Ass and Nicaraguan Death Squad. It's about the only thing that I've really done that's worthy of note. But
Bro, did you throw down on Nicaraguan Death Squad?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I did.
Yeah, that's
After
a cool
Brian left,
project
yeah.
to be a part of.
Yeah.
That's a cool project to be a part of.
Dude, it was weird. Like, okay, so that was the thing about Nicaraguan was like being on the outside and then being on the inside. It was like, whoa.
Yeah.
It was very.
A lot better from the outside.
I don't know. I had a good time, man. I really did. Like that was still a very how shall I put this? There was a lot of learning involved.
It had its thing,
Yeah.
man. There was a vibe attached to that band that I thought was pretty cool.
Some people were pissed. Fucking pissed, dude. I remember we played Three Kings one time and there was some chick that was drunk as fuck, and I'm not going to name names so I know exactly who she is, but she spent the entire set screaming about how she wanted Brian back, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
he's gone. I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah.
Come the guy they picked.
There's always one, right? There's
Right.
always one.
There's at least.
And so we got one of my old bros, freaking Vic Aquila. How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. You so what do you think? You wanna tell us about yourself?
Oh, my name's Victor. Probably played in every band in Colorado, more
Yeah.
or less, in some sort of
Just
way.
about.
In the back in the day, but yeah, just getting back into it now and seeing what's around and learning the scene all over again. So
Yeah.
interesting.
It's a different scene, right?
No, it's way different.
Yeah. Yeah, shit has totally changed, dude. It's like every time I turn around, I'm like, I couldn't imagine being a 17-year-old, like starting a band like right now. Like, oh, it's like all at your fucking fingertips, right? But, and then the kids are like, no, it's not. It's so hard and blah, 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 But, where are you from originally? You're from Albany, New York, right?
Yeah, a little further north of there. It's basically upstate New York, some small
Upstate.
town in the sticks. So
Yeah, and you were doing music up there in New York, weren't you?
yeah, I've been playing since I was about 13. So
Yeah.
I was, part of the scene, sort of way out there. I was a lot younger, so didn't have as many connections as I did out here. I was like,
Yeah, of
15
course.
years old, trying to get in bars, act like I was 21,
Right. What do you think of the metal scene like in say, upstate New York compared to then you moved to Colorado? Like of all places, it's like, is there even a metal scene in Colorado compared to the East Coast? But like, how was that transition for you when you went from there to where you're at now?
I think the biggest transition, obviously, hardcore, especially upstate. There's a lot of hardcore scene up there, but
Right.
it was like, the mosh pits compared to like New York, especially like in the 90s compared to coming out here. I was like, why is everyone trying to tackle each other out here? It's totally different. Everyone's like swinging around, which is, pretty dumb, especially nowadays, take someone out in the pit. But, it's kind of a completely different scene from what people were doing out here. I wasn't used to it. But, the scene was pretty decent still at that point, as opposed to like upstate. The only difference was, when you're upstate New York, like the local bands are treated as any other band. So people will actually know the words and get into it a lot more than people out here per se, as far as the local scene.
Yeah, I was always kind of a little bit jealous of all the bands on the East Coast because it's like you've got like a major city 2 hours in every direction. It's like, so if you're like trying to get a band together and you just want to tour, it's like, oh, we're going to Pittsburgh, we're going to Philly, we're going to New York, we're going to Buffalo, we're going to Cleveland. It's just like bang, 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 bang. It's like growing up, it ain't the Midwest, but growing up in the West in Colorado, it's like, well, you know, you're driving, you got to go to another city. It's like the closest place from Denver was like Kansas City, you know, and that was cool. But yeah, I always thought like, man, they got it so much easier on the East Coast, you know, like, I don't know. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I always thought that way. I always thought Ohio would have been the perfect place to live just because of the same reason. You could like do a tour every weekend and just be gone 3 days and come back.
Right.
You didn't have to like, yeah, if you wanted to hit more than one place, you didn't have to devote an entire week to do it. So I always thought it would have been cool for sure.
So, you know, one thing I wanted to talk about, I want to put Vic on the spot, but talking about some personal challenges, man, Vic got T-boned on his motorcycle. Well, how long ago was that now? Has it been like 5 years?
Yeah, it's been about a little over 6 years now. So
yeah, maybe even 7, I guess, because I moved to Idaho. I've been up here for like 7, so it's really been like, yeah,
closer to 7. It was 2017, so shit, almost 8 years ago. It'll be in November.
Yeah, and I don't want to put you on the spot, bro, but your ass almost died. Like, I came and seen you at the hospital, man, and it was not good, dude. Like, you were in critical condition, and I was like, damn. And for people that don't know, I mean, Vic might be one of the most talented musicians I've ever met, especially locally, that can just like, oh, here, let me pick up a bass, let me pick up a guitar, let me play drums. And it was just like, the dude is a one-man army. And to watch you in critical condition, and I don't want to speak for you, but your whole, I remember them saying something about like your elbow and shoulder were freaking dust, like, right? You were pretty in a bad way.
Yeah, there's actually like a donor elbow in my body now. So
You got a donor elbow?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like dust. It took like 3 surgeons. I don't know much because I don't remember that point. I was for the most part of it, but from what I hear, they're talking about like amputating my arms. They didn't know if they could actually repair it.
Holy shit.
Because it was just so shattered.
Yeah. Yeah, that's heavy, man. And not only like, okay, are you going to live? Are you going to have your arm? Are you ever going to be able to pick up an instrument again? And now here you are putting together like a new band. And so how's that been going?
It's going well, you know. Very fortunate to have some close friends out here that are musicians and just great people all around. I practiced with them, known them for years. There was more of a thing to, you know, get everyone back together. And I don't think any of us have jammed in quite a while with the whole band. So
sure,
been a great experience. And again, learning the new scene, learning the new people, and just seeing how everything's different in the whole process.
So the scene has changed, huh?
Oh, the scene's different. The people are different. Just being in a band is different. I remember back in the day, we jammed 3 days a week. You know, looking at bands, I'm playing with a couple of projects right now, just trying to figure out where I want to go. And they jam like 1 day a week, 2-3 times a month. Like there's people that got band spaces, you know, it's like, oh, we jam every Saturday. So,
yeah,
you know, I remember back in the day, we were like, we got to jam 3-4 days a week. And it's just not like that. So
we talked about that in a prior episode. It was just like, you know, like for like our band right now, Playground, we're just a recording project. And so we don't get that time to just jam songs and just work them out, play them in bars and all that shit. Like we're just sitting here recording, sending, emailing tracks back and forth. And it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to like glue and get the, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Just get the continuity together, you know, doing that. How about you, Cy? You know, I seen the other day, you post a picture with the mic in your hand, and I'm not gonna lie, dude, that shit gave me chills, bro. I was like, I seen the mic in your hand, and you kind of had this post, and I don't want to like necessarily repeat everything, but it sounds like you kind of been going through some stuff yourself, man. You care to elaborate on any of that, or is that too personal?
No, we can elaborate. That's easy. It was honestly kind of an emotional moment for me.
Sure.
Because that was the first time I'd touched that microphone or even seen that microphone since 2017. It was the last practice before we before Vic got in his accident, honestly. Like, I had not seen that microphone since before then.
Wow.
So we had, you know, Con Ass had come back together. We had played a show, and we were in the writing process. And I still remember when Tano hit me up, I remember I was streaming at the time. He hit me up and let me know about Vic. and the accident. And I have not touched that microphone since then. So it was an interesting moment.
Yeah, I bet.
To say the least. It was just like a lot of waves of things that had come long before that just kind of hit me all at once. It was just like, this was literally the vessel for all of my everything, whether it was good or bad, like all of that was delivered through this thing right here in front of me. I have not touched it or seen it or done anything with it since then. So it was just kind of interesting holding that again. Because
and so where are you guys at now? Are you going to do this thing, or is it still you just kind of dipping your toes in the water? Like,
personally, I'm all in. I mean, part of the okay. Full disclosure, I didn't really see myself doing anything without Vic. I didn't. The only way I can really put it is there's something that this jerk pulls out of me, and I cannot explain to you what it is. It's
no, I know what it is. I've jammed with him too, bro. He's a freaking prick.
It's a huge creation thing, if I'm going to be honest with you. There's a certain like level of motivation and desire to do something that I have not felt before nor since I met this guy. I did not want to actually do anything without him just because he
there's a vibe there, right? It's like they're just like, okay, I can give you the beats that you need, that you click with, that you vibe with, you can throw down. It's like, all right, this is right where this is right. We're in the pocket. It's like da, 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 like you just it's like, okay, there's only so many people that you can really vibe with in that pocket, like in all the years I've been jamming, there's only been like a couple of dudes where you really just vibe, like, all right, like we're literally like doing ESP here. You know what I'm saying?
So he's one of the few people that like gets where I come from and like also where I want to go, like musically. Sure. Like we shared a lot of the same musical tastes. I found a lot of bands, like when we were recording the first Con Ass CD, he took me outside during a break. He's like, dude, you got to listen to this. And it was this band called Beneath the Massacre.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Still one of my favorite bands to this day. And like nobody else would have been able to like show that to me and probably get like the same reaction, the same, thing. And then he showed me a band called Psyopus.
Yeah.
Same case. Too. It was just
almost
really
wore that shirt
weird. Today. Dude, one of the best bands ever that I've ever found. And like, it was because of him. Like there's a specific place that he comes from and I also come from. And it kind of just comes together, scissors. It just...
You guys like to scissors, are you telling me?
Scissor me timbers.
Yeah, buddy.
He's one of the few people that gets like, there's where most people want to operate, and then there's where we want to operate is the best way I can explain that.
Well, that's cool, man. I'm super stoked to hear what's gonna come out of this. Because I know what Vic's capable of. I know the talent that he has, and honestly, I'm just thankful that my boy is sitting here, talking and breathing and throwing down on some metal again. Sorry to leave you out of the loop here, Tony. Like, you got anything you wanna add or ask here while we're here?
Oh shit! I guess it's been a while since I jammed with either of these dudes. Kind of wondering what methods of recording you're kind of doing now. Is it kind of are you doing anything where you're doing it online, sending stems back and forth, or
you guys they're all recording in the studio, maybe?
Yeah.
Actually, this take, at least with Mike and I, we decided to go more organic with the writing process. So we wanted to do something where we jam the songs. Obviously, I have a studio, and yes, I write a lot of the riffs, and I got a folder with a bunch of riffs or half songs that, hey, what do you guys think? Is this something we can build off? And they're just building blocks for what we do when we actually practice. So it's kind of like a hybrid where, I'll get some ideas, throw them in a folder, and then just go jam mic and put stuff together. That we got a side down there, kind of just, here, where do you think these vocals will go with this? And it definitely helps with, the process of writing. Yeah. I can sit there in front of a computer, but I don't know what size got in mind. He's his own animal as far as vocals. I'm not a vocalist at all. So, it's very valuable. I like his rhythm and stuff like that. So when we're writing, you kind of have that rhythm aspect with the vocals, and it's really cool to keep that in mind when you're writing also. So again, having him down there now to get that input is very valuable also.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, like I said, now that I'm doing vocals on my own project, like in the years past, I've always just been the backup vocalist. So whatever dude's throwing down, and like, hey, back me up on these key parts or whatever, that's what I would do. And now I'm doing my own parts. Like I want to like go and apologize to all the vocalists. Like I'm such a prick. Like here's 280 beats per minute. Fucking go. You know what I mean? It's like, why can't you do this? And it's like now I'm like, oh wow, like there's a whole nother ball of wax here that we can get into. But this ain't about me, this is about you guys. So what do you think is your favorite part of the recording process? How many times have you been in the studio, Si? Is it that one time with the Tone Lab with us, or have you been in a few other times?
The Tone Lab was my third time recording ever. Like in terms of like a project or like a specific set like thing that I was doing at that point in time. The first time I had ever recorded was with my boy AJ that I basically grew up with. We found a couple dudes that we were jamming with, and the first time I ever recorded my vocals anywhere on anything was with those guys. And then I had actually been able to use that to kind of send other projects that I was trying to try out for at the time. I sent it to Vic before I was trying out for Conass. First time after that I had ever recorded was when we were recording Equal Opportunity Destroyer, and then the third time ever was Tone Lab stuff. So I don't have much in terms of recording. Most of my experience has been with, just straight jamming and practice and trying out for bands and like writing process and things like that.
Sure. Yeah. I gotta say, I'm going to say it now. One of my favorite, you're still my favorite vocalist I've ever recorded, dude. And all the dudes I've recorded, and I recorded a few, and it's like, who I don't like recording? I don't like recording the whisperers. Like, it's like, okay, I get it. It's cool, but I want to throw down. And I'm telling you, Cy is he's a psycho, man. Like he would throw down the sickest take. Like it would just be so sick and like, this sucks, and like melt down. I was like, bro, like, hold on, man. Like, I'm listening to it in the headphones, like, dude, this is fucking incredible. And dude is like not happy. And it's like, all right. So I'm like, as an engineer, I'm like, okay, I got to make it. What do I got to do, bro? And like, and you would come back in like, all right, I'm better. And then the throw down again. And it was like incredible what I'm hearing. And you're like, no, it sucks. And like, it was like,
what that was though?
That was honestly a pretty fun, that was an entertaining session.
Somebody had a good time with that.
Sorry, bro.
No, honestly, my problem was that like recording during allergy season, I have hay fever really bad.
Oh, got you. Yeah, so, it might have been spring or something, huh?
Well, no, I didn't have the lung capacity because it was all taken up by mucus because of pollen and everything else.
Got you. So you weren't feeling it.
No, like, and I tried. I really did. Like, to this day, like, I can still listen to that fucking album and think, like, that sounded sick, but it was like, I actually had sicker takes and I made this fucker throw away because I was being a fucking prima donna about it. Like, and it is what it is, but, like, that's one of my weaknesses as a musician is that, like, I operate under, perfection is something you can deliver at will. And it's like, no, dude. You cannot do that. Like, just fucking do good and let it roll. Like,
well, I appreciate the opportunity to record you guys. You know, I was, you know, the Tone Lab had only been, you know, we've been rolling. We were the project studio, only been open for a few years, and so I was just so happy to get talented bands, because I'm not gonna lie, for a while we were going through some scrubs, and I learned a lot of lessons. It was like, dude, like I am not recording everybody that brings me money. Like I gotta come down and do like a pre-production, or I gotta come see them live, and I started being much more selective. And you know, I'd say out of that whole time with the Tone Lab in Colorado, I might have recorded like 5 bands that I actually liked, and the rest was just, it was horrid, bro. So I appreciate the opportunity. And so I'm curious with Vic, because I know he's got a lot of recording experience, and he records himself in the studio, recording yourself, doing your stuff. Have you ever had any happy accidents in the studio, Vic, where you're just like doing some shit and it was like, I don't know how, like, it's amazing, like, let's roll with it?
You know, it's just more of trying to keep a lot of takes, I think, is more of my accidents. Like, you know, all the stuff that you think won't work actually is better than anything else. Kind of things you were saying with Cy, like his takes are perfectly fine. Why do you keep going? I think that's one of my biggest things. As far as just accidents, not really. I think one of my favorite things that I learned, which was actually today, was actually exporting a click audio-wise, which is so stupid, but that's one of those things like I never took time to figure out. And I'm like, oh, you can just like turn this into an audio file and export it with just the guitar. So you have a click to the guitar and play drums to it. It's like the dumbest thing, but you actually...
You never do it, though.
Now you're like, oh, man, that was so easy. Why didn't I do that a long time ago?
Well, you like think of another way that's like way more complicated. Like, oh, I could have just done that.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
It's like finding shortcuts, you know? Like, you always go through all the menus trying to find a certain thing. I'm sure Jason goes through that too. You find the same, like, all you gotta do is hit like control whatever, and it'll just do it for you.
Right. So here's a question kind of for everybody, and that is, how do you handle creative differences? How about you, Tony? When you're in a band and you're recording and you're doing different stuff, how do you handle the creative differences? Because sometimes someone wants more blue and you want more red, and you're at an impasse, right? It's like,
Yeah, I mean, each individual song is usually different, because usually somebody probably contributed more to one song or part of the song than the other. So I think it's just, you kind of got to go riff by riff on that regard. And then if there's a creative difference, usually you can iron it out. And then if you're not, then it's really, if you're at that much of a dead end, maybe it's not even the right riff or right this or that.
Sure.
So I think everything kind of smooths itself over in one way or another.
how about you, Cy? You ever have any creative differences in your projects where it's just like you kind of start butting heads?
not necessarily. The majority of my experience with the writing process is I don't really come in until basically it's done. I may provide some input while it's being written, but for the most part, like in most cases, it's just ignored, bypassed, whatever. Not saying that it's always been that way, but 80% of the time, you just kind of sit back and you let it happen, provide some input, and hope it goes somewhere. And that's what's weird about now is my input is actually being asked for. I'm just like, shit, I don't know. Yeah, fucking send it. But it's hard. From what I've seen, I can definitely say that usually it's a lot of meeting in the middle. You know, you have 2-3 people that have ideas that, you know, may not necessarily work with each other, but there's a lot of coming together to make it work. So that's definitely what I have experienced the most is compromise, you know, finding a way for everyone to be in the middle so that everyone's fucking happy.
Right. That's a good answer. Cause yeah, I mean, honestly, that's why it's so important to have a good band. You know, it's really important to like have however many members that we're all on the same page. What about you, Vic? What do you think?
I don't know. You tell me. We remember the butcher shop days. Hey, dude, you should play this like this, not like that.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
I'm really hard on my drummers. because I'm like every band and every project I've ever been in, I'm like the worst musician. Like, and that's just the way I am, man. Because I'm the producer, man. That's just I've accepted that role now, and I got all the ideas and stuff, and it's like, oh, I can't do a sweep here. Hey Vic, I need a sweep right here, and then it's like, hey, I need this to go into a gravity, and then like back, and like, yeah, now let's record it, you know. And so, but I, you know. This ain't Frank shop. Is that a famous saying? But you know, how about this one? How do you know when a song is done, or is it ever really done? You know, I'll start with you, Vic. Like when you're recording and you're like, because you get into that thing, right? Especially recording yourself and being in the studio, it's just like you're never really done, are you? Or do you like, no, that's done, let's go?
Usually, my whole thing is when I run out of ideas for the song. So that would be a minute-long song. All right, I'm out of ideas. That's what it is. But there's also 6-minute-long songs because, you know, the ideas for the song actually flow to that point. But I feel that once the flow stops, that's usually when I keep it as a riff, or it's the song, depending on how many riffs are there. But that's basically how I judge it. I don't really have a set way to go about it. But that's how I determine the end of my song, basically.
Sure. And then in all of your recording experience, have you ever recorded anything that you're like, yeah, that's perfect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That can always be better. I mean, I think we all know this. No, and you know, again, going back to like Sia, it was perfectly fine, but you know, it's never good enough. It don't matter.
The perfection would make it imperfect.
Yeah,
because
it's like
perfect.
There's a follow-up question written here that says, "Who's the one more take person?" And I'm gonna say, Cy. maybe not. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Cy? One more take, or like you good with that one?
So when we recorded the first album, most of my shit was done in one take. It was just blast through it. Everything's fine. Second time around, not so much. And I think a lot of it, again, was based off of the time of recording, because when I was recording, you know, the first album, it was towards the end of allergy season. A lot of my issues were just eliminated. But like when it came to the second record, we went in like at the beginning of the worst of it. So I was never happy with anything. Like to this day, like I still will listen to things and be like, eh. But other times I'm like, that was perfect. And I'm like, he recorded that within the same 2 weeks, dude. Like the fuck. One more take is you can do that to death. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. And that was unfortunately the lesson I had to take from that was one more take isn't necessarily going to give you what you want.
Well, sometimes it gets worse, actually. Like,
exactly.
Doing it, you just get worse and worse.
I do it all the time.
You're not wrong at all.
It's like,
there's no such thing as overpracticing. I did scratch guitars for writing all the songs, and I was like, all right, I'm going to actually record the songs for real this time. And it wasn't even the same. So we kept the scratch guitars literally for the album.
Record the scratch, man. Record them all, because you never know.
We did. I doubled all my scratch guitars, luckily, and then when I tried to go replay everything, it just didn't have the same energy. So we stuck with those same things, and that's when I learned sometimes is just roll with what you got, because every time you try to get better at it, sometimes it gets worse.
Some of them raw takes are magical too, man. Like you just come in cold and you're just like, I'm not really ready to do this, and then you just throw down, and it's like magic, done. They're like, no, that can't be done. It's like, no, but it is. But all right, let's do 400 more takes just so you remember that first one was the one. So that's a good segue to do you prefer a self-produce or record in the studio? How about you, Tony? You prefer to go in the studio or self-produce it yourself?
Well, I mean, the way we're doing it, I like to do it ourselves, but I'm not doing a lot of the whole mixing part. So that seems like something that's kind of hard. So if I were to not have you, I'd probably enjoy going to the studio more, just because I have a lot of songs that I've recorded but haven't done mixing or mastering to. So I kind of, I'm not good at the mixing and mastering part. So,
but if you were sitting there tracking, you like being able to track just on your own time, on your own vibe, or would you rather go to the studio, kind of have the clock going?
No, I like it. I like it at home better, just because you can go at your pace. You're in your comfort zone, And back in the day, you're worried about how much time you're paying,
Sure,
which are
tape costs
trying to
money.
hurry up. Yeah. So
How about
not
you, Vic?
having
'Cause
that.
we just had this conversation, I think, over some text a while back, but where you're like, "Oh, I like recording myself, but if I had my way, I might still go to like, the man." Yeah. What do you
No,
think?
I mean, my problem is, especially I've done so much on my own. I would prefer a studio. The only hard part is the clock thing, but I like working with other people. I think when you go to an actual studio, even working with you, you're like, hey, why don't you try this? It's,
Sure.
oh, I didn't think about that. But when you track everything yourself, I'm just not that talented, honestly. I mean, I appreciate all the words and everything, but like, I feel like, I need input from others to write what I write, like, so if I was to actually write something, I'd love to go back to a studio. There's even been talk, even with this project, of maybe even doing in a studio, maybe doing all our scratches ourselves, make sure they're good. But, there's always talk about doing a recording in an actual studio just to get that feel one more time kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. You can do it that way. You can do the scratches yourself. So it's kind of like the studio, but then you have the option to use that as just preparing for the actual studio. Because, when you get in the studio, you always have those hurdles you never thought of, like, oh, there's a gap there. And it's, how are we going to time that out? Because there's nothing there. How you get the weird gaps and stuff that you only experience in the studio and not in practice. So
Well,
that's
yes.
like you, Jason, like if you get a band and we have scratch tracks for you, you already got an idea for the production of the album. You've heard the songs and you got an idea of what that band is bringing to you. As running a studio, would you prefer somebody that had these scratch tracks so you knew what the songs were before you actually tracked the band, or would you rather just go in blind and just let them track?
That's a great question because I was just thinking about that too because I've heard of bands like, so if I'm in the band, it's like I've always been jealous of those dudes that are like, yeah, we just showed up to the studio with like a bunch of riffs and we just built, we had a budget, like here's X amount of money and we just hung out in a house for a month and we wrote this album. It's like that would be the most amazing setup, as a musician. As a producer, I don't know. I guess that's a good question. I never really thought about it because there's some bands I've recorded that I never heard them. And they came in, and it is a different thing because the song is presented to me, okay, drums and a scratch guitar and then another guitar and then we start tracking and then bass and all that and then we get the vocals and then when I'm all done it's like, wow, I had no idea it was going here. And so I changed my philosophy. It's like, well, maybe I need to come check out your band live a few times and even come to your studio and do some pre-production and record you guys and get more of a vibe. So, I guess it just depends on the band, but I think both ways are pretty fun. Me as a musician at this point, I like to record myself just because the clock's not ticking and I can sit here and cluck out on ideas and nitpick and stuff. And so my advice to like young dudes coming up and new bands and stuff, it's like, man, get an interface and record yourself. Get an interface, even if you got one mic in the band space and you're hearing everything, just record yourself and dial that up before you go to the studio so you're just prepared. It'll be cheaper. You'll get a better project out of it. But that's just my opinion on that. So to move right along, I've got your opinion on AI recording and production. You guys heard of this thing, AI? Like, what do you think of that? How about you, Cy?
I don't buy it. I don't agree with it. I won't shop it. I won't ship it. I won't fucking support it.
Amen.
On the one hand, I can see where the allure is, but on the other hand, I'm like, you're not really learning anything through that. Like
Sure.
You're not going through the trial by fire, which is honestly the most important part, in my opinion, because that's how you learn whether you're like cut out for it. If you can do it, you have to do it. You can't have something else do it for you. And that's the biggest argument that I have with it, is because you yourself as a person, as a musician, as a creator are not going to learn anything. You're not going to get any better if something else is doing all the hard shit for you.
Right. That's a good answer. I like that. What about you, Tony? What do you think?
Oh, as far as creating music with AI, I'm with Cy. I mean, it makes it completely pointless to even be a musician if you're going to do that. It's like, what's the fun in that? Like, you're going to actually have it do it for you. It's like the whole creative process, the funnest part. So that's why I do it in the first place. So now, as far as doing artwork, I can't draw, so I'm 100% for AI for artwork because I can't fucking draw. But as far as like for music, nah, don't like it.
Sure. How about you, Vic? What do you think? AI, use it for some artwork or no AI at all?
I think it's up to the person, honestly. I'm not for it personally, but we don't have a say in this. I mean, so you got to kind of go with the flow if you want to stay relevant with it. That's
Sure.
not like, oh, fuck AI. Yeah, it's not my thing, but it's going to happen either way. So unfortunately, I got to find a way to go with it if I want to stay relevant with my music and what I'm doing.
I mean, it is disappointing. Like
It is. It's, I
here
agree
it
with
is.
100%. I'm on that same boat with you guys. It's just, it's going to be there. So, I mean, I've heard it. You hear the songs. People got fucking AI songs now. It's,
Yeah.
Social media accounts blowing up with that shit.
Yeah.
so it's,
Yeah.
it is what it is, but you can kind of tell still. It's not, but it will get better, obviously. But let's show you the process.
Yeah.
This dude plays like 20 riffs in this bank, and his AI just spits songs out of the stupid thing,
Well, where it's really weird too is like when people are trying to like bite other people's styles with the AI, like, oh, I'm gonna make this AI with like James Hetfield as the vocalist, and it's like, oh wow, like it's really jacking some people's stuff, and it's like that, the thing is it ain't going anywhere. Like it's here, we can all protest and everything, but I just like, it's like protesting like, like the freaking automotive assembly line with robots. It's like, oh, it's like it's not going away. But it is disappointing, and I think you are starting to see it. Like you'll even see like weird little things in movies. You see a lot of like, they're bringing some dead actors back, and so maybe they signed off. Family was like, yeah, go ahead and use, Princess Leia's face in this movie or whatever, and there's some stuff going on. But the more they dabble in that, like the realer and realer it gets. I said in like a last podcast, I was like if you want to go listen to AI music, like go ahead. I mean, I guess if it bangs out a hit, my analogy was that Korean Gangnam Style. It was like somebody wrote that and they like it. Like to me, it's crap, but like I don't know, AI could have made that, it'd been fine. But I don't personally like it, and I have a ton of artist friends that are like, hey man, it's putting people out of work, and it is putting people out of work, and then it's so you get into this mindset, well, like whose job's okay to axe? It's like, well, nobody's, but I am going to use AI to help me do my taxes. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know. Does that make me a bad person? It's like, holy shit, like this shit, I don't need to call a plumber. It just told me how to fix my freaking furnace. Like, I'm like, wow. Like, I don't know. We're screwed. Like, but it's an interesting thing. And there's a lot of people, like I just seen a thing with Pestilence. You guys remember old school death metal band Pestilence? Like they come out with a new album cover and people are hammering them on it. It's like you had AI do this whole cover, and it's like, and they're kind of trying to defend themselves. And me, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
See, is the cover any good? Is it cool or does it suck? Because I would hammer them if they had a crappy album cover and they did AI. If they did AI, it better look freaking cool.
You know what's funny is like with Plague Rat, like I've been looking to get some art done because we want to do a vinyl, and I've hit up 3 artists, and 2 of them ghosted me. Just ghosted me, and these are people I know, and I'm like, hey man, I'll pay whatever, like I want to get some art done, I think this is right up your alley with this what we're looking at, and they straight ghosted me. And then I found another dude on Fiverr, and I was going through his art portfolio, and he had some dope stuff. What's he send me? AI. I was like, dude, are you serious? He just sent me an AI thing and like tried to charge. I'm not going to mention no names, but I was like, this is the world we're in right now. And so, you know, and so yeah, I made an AI flyer and I posted it, like, and I was like, "Whoa, that was so dope!" Like, you know how hard it was to make flyers back in the day, like going to Kinko's and running copies and all this dumb shit. You're sitting there with pencil and drawing it out, like, "Oh, it's gonna be some debauchery at this freaking shitty bar," and you run them copies off, and now it's like I'm sitting there on my phone, like ran it, like, and everybody's like, "Used AI for a flyer," and I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like I didn't realize I hit a nerve. Like the people are sore about this topic. So I appreciate you guys' input on that. And so, you know, we're getting to the end of this episode. So again, thank you guys so much for coming, doing this. I'm super stoked to hear what you guys are going to come out with here. Got a name yet? Not
You
yet.
got to come
All
up
right.
with it right now.
No.
What's
You got
going
to
to
come up with
be
it right now.
right
So
here?
here's like my personal thing. Like for me, like I've always been the dude that's been looked to figure this stuff out, and it's I don't necessarily know
You're the
if that's
front
going to
man.
be the case here, but what I will say is like it's one of those things where you have to like, I mean, we're still very early on in the process.
Yeah,
So it's a lot of like defining a sound, like a direction of this, of that. I mean, there's a lot of factors. And like when it comes down to a name, I feel like it should be indicative of that.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
it has to kind of
It's going to come from the music.
follow the direction of the music versus that dictating the direction of the music. You know what I mean? And that's extremely easy to do. And I've never been one to want to be pigeonholed or feel like I'm being pigeonholed.
Sure.
It's got to be narrow enough to basically explain it, but broad enough to leave room for change, expansion, you know, evolution. And I mean, God, there's so much that still has to happen before I feel like personally, you know, I can't speak for everyone else, but I can speak for myself, and there needs to be more before there can be like something that definitive. You know what I mean? So that's just where I personally stand. If I had to come up with something tomorrow, I could, but
Well, that's why whatever you come up with is going to be dope, because you're going to put some thought to it and it's going to mean something. You know, it's not going to be like, "Oh, we're going to call ourselves Witches Brew."
yeah,
You
exactly.
know, like you're gonna,
Oh, hey,
you
wait a
know,
minute. That's pretty good. No.
yeah. You can
I
have
want
that.
there to be weight behind something like that. You know what I mean? Because like when they hear your band name, I mean, there's like a certain like expectation or, you know, idea of what you're supposed to sound like or whatever. And I just want it to, when it comes down to band names and things like that, like even song titles, I think super hard about that stuff. And sometimes too much, like annoyingly so, but I want it to resonate. I want it to mean something. I want it to have impact, you know?
Yeah, I would love to get you back on. I'm going to do a vocalist roundtable here probably in the next like month or so. It might even be a few weeks, but you know, definitely open invitation to both you guys. If you ever want to come back when the things are getting rolling, you got some stuff to share with us. I think it'd be fun. We're going to keep doing this podcast like once a week. And so really, as we come to the end, I got a couple questions left. I got like a hater question. Like, you guys get haters? Like, do you receive support from other bands? And all of your times, like, have you felt like where other bands maybe weren't supporting you or kind of were gatekeeping or kind of, you know, in the way? Or have you guys always just felt nothing but love, like in your bands? Because I kind of feel like the haters are in force right now, dude. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe they just don't like my band because I used AI on my flyer. Like, but I'm like, man, there's a lot of haters right now. Like this new era. What do you guys think?
I think there's the internet now also.
There's the internet now.
It brings out
Amen.
more people also, and it's going to bring out more haters in general. What it also brings is more music and more musicians, you know, that are playing music. So in general, everything changes in an aspect nowadays as far as, you know, that goes. But as far as the scene around here, it seems, now that I've been getting back into it, it's been pretty receptive. It's the same old shit for the most part. As long as if you get in the same kind of group of people, it's kind of the same old stuff. But you know, you got to find promoters and kind of just work with them, stuff like that. But, you know, the shows at Gothic and stuff like that, at least in Denver, for like, you know, we used to put the bigger venues. That's in the past. Now it's all mainly DIYs that I see a lot of stuff like that, you know, smaller venues. HQ, if you're playing there, seems like a pretty decent venue, I guess, nowadays for local bands. But yeah, we all remember the Ogden, Gothic, Bluebird. Yeah, that's no more, you know, so.
Wow.
Just getting used to the differences there. You know, even the Marquee, it's pretty rare for a local show to even be at the Marquee anymore, from what I've seen. So,
sure. Yeah, I always felt like the least the local scene in Denver, there was usually a lot of love. You know, most everybody, I felt like, to me, usually supported each other pretty good. It's just when you start getting nationwide, you start stepping out a little bit. You start getting a lot more. You know, it's like, oh, you know, I don't want you to get what I got type of stuff, you know, that kind of starts to come out a little bit. And it's like, yo, bro, like, it's all music. Your band's dope. My band's dope, whatever. You know, I don't know. What do you think, Cy? You got a comment on that?
The only time I ever really dealt with that sort of a thing is like, and perhaps it's my perception being what it was back then, because I was young, dumb, and definitely very full of, but like, the only pushback I ever experienced was from the type of people that it just felt like it wasn't even like a competition thing or anything. It was just like intimidation. You know what I mean? Like it just, there were a way, an exponentially larger amount of people that I felt supported by, that I felt, you know, empowered by. You know, other bands that were just like, fuck yeah, you guys are doing something cool, like keep fucking going. And then there were also bands that were just like, fuck you guys. Like they just try and fucking steal what they can from you and just move forward. You know, it's a very different thing now than it was then. I mean, societal paradigms have changed, like the way music operates, is produced, you know, even on a local level, like just the way everything operates is very different now. I mean,
that's the term of the week, man. Societal paradigms have changed.
Right.
Like, there it is.
So much is different now, man. And it's weird kind of taking a step back from that, because I was doing a million other things between, you know, the end of Con Ass and now. And I've still been at local shows. I've still gone to national shows. Like, it's not like I have stopped watching, participating, or whatever on certain levels, but there's so much that's different now, and trying to, I guess, navigate what has changed and make it work is just probably the biggest difference. Because back then, if we're talking like 2010, easy, but it's 2025 now.
Yeah.
There are so many things that are different.
Yeah. Yeah. It is definitely a completely different planet right now, you know?
Well, I mean, even the way like local venues are handled, operated, like, you know, places that we would have been welcome anytime, not so much anymore. You know, and it's not even just you know, can you draw a crowd? It's, you know, all of the factors that were things back then don't even exist now. It's a completely different scale. It's a completely different, like, magnifying glass that you're under. You know,
right.
It's not the same thing anymore.
I haven't played. I think my last gig might have been 2008, 2009. I don't remember. I remember it was in Colorado Springs, and we were opening for a band called Pyrexia, which was like a New York, you know, grindcore band that I was a huge fan of, and they were just smashing. And them dudes have been ripped off like 5 nights in a row. And we were at the end of their tour, and we jumped on there, and they were like in the parking lot ready to throw down with each other. And I had like a baby come in, a second kid come in, and I was like, you know what? Like, I think it's time for me to try another chapter. And since then, I keep hearing all these horror stories, like all the venues want a cut of your merchandise sales. It's like, what? Like, what is this? Well, then don't play that venue. It's like, well, all the venues are that way. It's like, what? Like that's the main way bands make money, and now they're trying to get a cut of that. Like, anyways, that's a whole nother episode. But it's like, yeah, it's a different world, man. It is a different world. Well, thank you guys again. I appreciate you guys being here. I'm super stoked. Looking forward to your new project. You know, there's do you guys have anything up? You guys got some Conspiracy Assassins or anything up on any streaming platforms? You guys avoid the streaming stuff.
Conass is still up on Bandcamp. I know that.
Is it? All right. And
you can literally pay whatever you want. I have re-downloaded my own albums for $1. So I'm just gonna put that out there. Like, you know, just go check it out. Yeah. Period. If y'all ain't heard it,
yes, I think Check Tano told me, and it was like $1.73 or something like that for Bandcamp for download.
Yeah.
And I've even told other people, I'm like, go download it. Like, if you want to pay $1 for it, do it. If you want to pay 10 for it, do it. Just like, go listen to it for fuck's sake. At the very least, just listen.
Yeah, it's good shit. So we'll finish up with this one. How about the best live gig story? Do you got one of those? One that is memorable to you? How about you, Tony?
It's hard to say. I'd say maybe the one. Yeah, kind of. I mean, I'd say the last one was we talked about on the last show where Dennis from Macabre pointed at my kick triggers and was like, "Oh, those are the ones I use in Sinister Slaughter." And we were talking about how triggering was kind of a big deal at that time, and people were kind of like, "Yeah."
That's about how triggering was cheating.
Yeah, and it kind of gave me reinforcement, like, well, if he's doing it, then that's awesome, you know, especially on one of my favorite albums. So, yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, you guys remember that? Triggering, you're cheating. It's like now everybody's like full kid. Like, how about you, Vic? You got a best live gig story?
Sure. Side probably remembers Gothic Theater. Setting up my drums, pack the place out, trip over my drum throne, grab my floor tom, and break my thumb.
Oh,
wow. Supposed to play, and I walk in front of the guys. I'm like, I can't play, and I show my thumb, and it's like over at a 90-degree angle. I'm like, I gotta go to the hospital. All my drums are all set up on stage, ready to play.
Oh man!
Yeah, needless to say, we didn't play.
Oh, brutal. That's brutal. That's not a good live story, bro.
Right, but it's one that's like
it's funny when you look back at it.
Didn't play.
It was always my dream to play the Gothic. That was a bucket list fucking item dream for me, dude. So I remember fucking Vic walking up. He's like, dude, we can't play. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, dude, look at my fucking thumb. He showed me his thumb, which was visibly fucked up. And my dumb ass is just like, are you sure you just can't fucking do it?
Just tape it up, dog. Come on, man. It's about the music.
Like, no, dude, no. So I had to fucking, he's just like, dude, you gotta say something. So like, I remember like looking to my left and looking to my right and just being like, fuck, dude, because we had everything set up. Everything was set up, good to go. And so I had to basically get up and making the announcement that we weren't fucking playing. And then when we recorded the second album, we got to do the CD release at the Gothic. So that was everything I wanted.
Yeah,
honestly.
you got the makeup gig.
I had such a good time at that fucking show, dude. I had such a good time. And there's actually a video on YouTube of the final song on the album where I thanked you for putting up with my bullshit through the recording of that.
Oh, really? Wow.
I will send you the link, but
send me that.
Know that there was a little blurb about that, but that was honestly one of the coolest moments in my life.
Hell yeah.
Because before that, I had to be like, I'm going to play this, never mind.
Oh, dude, the kit is set up. Like,
dude, actually pulling that off was, that was one of the happiest moments of my existence. Honestly, that was the one that made me just go, okay, I can die after this. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Well, hey, man, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Hopefully we get to have you guys back the more you guys start hitting this off. For everybody that stayed and watched, I appreciate you. Don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe, all that crap. And we're going to be doing this thing every week. So tune in next time, and we'll see y'all later. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.